For a long time, Hollywood seemed to celebrate the rise of Teyana Taylor. She had the kind of talent the entertainment world loves to highlight. She could sing, dance, act, direct, and create. Many people described her as a true multi-artist, someone who could move between different parts of the industry with ease. Her work brought her praise from critics and fans, and she even earned a nomination at the Golden Globe Awards. That moment alone showed how seriously Hollywood was beginning to take her as an actress. She also stepped into projects connected to powerful creators, including work tied to Ryan Murphy, a producer known for shaping some of the biggest television and film productions in recent years. From the outside, it looked like the industry had fully welcomed her. She was appearing on major platforms, gaining recognition for her performances, and receiving the kind of attention many artists spend years trying to achieve. However, there was always one quiet detail sitting underneath all the praise. Even with the awards, the opportunities, and the positive press, there was still something the industry never completely gave her. That missing piece was full creative control. According to comedian Katt Williams, that detail might explain why Teyana's relationship with Hollywood has sometimes seemed complicated. In his view, the moment she began stepping behind the camera and making her own creative decisions, the situation changed. She was no longer simply another performer working inside the system. Instead, she became someone who understood how the system actually works. And in an industry where power often stays behind the scenes, that kind of knowledge can make people uncomfortable. Katt Williams has often said in interviews and stand-up discussions that Hollywood is not always threatened by celebrities who speak loudly. Sometimes, he argues, the real concern comes from insiders who understand too much. These are people who have spent years watching how deals are made, how careers are built, and how influence moves quietly between powerful players. From his perspective, Teyana Taylor fits that description. She has spent a long time inside the entertainment world, not just performing but observing. When fans online talk about this idea, they often point to how unusual her career path really is. Hollywood typically prefers artists to stay in one lane. Someone might become famous as a singer, an actor, or a director, but rarely all three at once. Occasionally people cross over, but the system itself tends to encourage specialization. When artists stay in one role, it becomes easier for companies and executives to guide their careers. They can shape a performer's public image, manage their projects, and control the story surrounding their success. Teyana Taylor never followed that formula. Her story began in Harlem, where she grew up surrounded by music and creativity. As a teenager, she caught the attention of Pharrell Williams, who recognized her talent early. Being discovered so young placed her in rooms where many artists only arrive years later. While other teenagers were still trying to find their direction, Teyana was already learning how the entertainment world worked. One of her early opportunities involved choreography. She worked on dance concepts connected to performances by Beyoncé, helping shape routines that millions of people would eventually watch on television and on stage. That experience alone gave her a rare view into the creative process behind large productions. She saw how performances were planned, how artists collaborated, and how much preparation went into every public appearance. Her journey then moved deeper into the music world when she became connected to Kanye West and his label, Good Music. Joining that environment meant entering one of the most influential creative spaces in modern hip-hop. Kanye's circle was known for blending music, fashion, design, and business strategies in ways that few labels attempted. Artists in that space were not just making songs. They were building brands and experimenting with culture itself. For many performers, being part of a label like that would mean focusing only on recording music. Teyana, however, paid attention to everything happening around her. She watched how deals were structured. She observed how artists were promoted, how opportunities were negotiated, and sometimes how certain talents were quietly pushed aside when priorities changed. While the public mostly saw her as a singer and performer, people inside the industry understood that she was learning far more than the average artist. That knowledge became important later in her career. Before the acting recognition and the directing opportunities arrived, there was a moment when everything nearly stopped. In 2020, Teyana surprised fans when she announced that she was stepping away from music. First, the explanation seemed simple. Some media outlets described it as creative frustration or exhaustion from the demands of the industry. But the reality she later described suggested something more complicated. Teyana revealed that she had asked her label, Def Jam Recordings, to release her from her contract several times. Reports suggested she made the request around 10 different times. Each time the request was ignored. That detail raised serious questions about how much freedom artists truly have once they sign major agreements with record companies. In theory, a contract is supposed to be a partnership between an artist and a label. In practice, it can sometimes feel like a cage that limits how and when someone is allowed to create. Katt Williams later pointed to that moment as an example of how the entertainment business often protects its own interests first. From his perspective, Teyana's retirement announcement was not simply a personal decision. Instead, he suggested it showed how the industry can close doors around someone who wants more independence. Eventually, Def Jam did release her, but the delay had consequences. In entertainment, timing is everything. Losing years of creative momentum can slow down even the most promising career. Instead of disappearing from the spotlight, Teyana made a different move. She pivoted. Rather than focusing only on music again, she turned her attention toward film and directing. That decision changed the entire direction of her career. By the time the mid-2020s arrived, conversations about power in Hollywood had become louder. Katt Williams had started speaking openly about what he described as hidden systems that influence careers behind the scenes. His comments sparked debates online about who truly controls entertainment narratives. During those conversations, Teyana Taylor's name began appearing more often, not because she was accusing anyone of wrongdoing, but because people realized she had spent years inside the same circles being discussed. She had watched negotiations happen. She had seen contracts being written. She had witnessed how influence moves through the industry. The difference between performing in front of the camera and directing behind it is enormous. Performers often have teams of managers, publicists, and advisors helping shape their image. Their schedules, interviews, and even social media posts can be carefully guided. Directors operate in a different space. A director controls how a story is told. They decide what the audience sees, which moments are highlighted, and what message a film ultimately carries. That level of authority is rare. When a filmmaker also understands the inner workings of the industry, executives sometimes become cautious. Teyana's directorial debut, a project titled Get Light, quickly attracted attention. The film was connected to Paramount Pictures and focused on cultural themes connected to the world she grew up in. On the surface, the project looked like a breakthrough moment for her as a filmmaker. However, Katt Williams suggested that moments like this can sometimes create tension behind closed doors. Throughout history, filmmakers have used movies to communicate ideas that might never be spoken openly. Cinema can carry symbolism, hidden references, and layered storytelling. Many directors embed deeper meanings in their work that audiences slowly uncover over time. Within Black cinema especially, this technique has often allowed artists to challenge powerful institutions without directly confronting them. Images can carry messages. Stories can reveal truths about society. Viewers who understand the context can recognize what the filmmaker is really saying. If a director with deep knowledge of the entertainment system decides to tell a story this way, the results can be unpredictable. According to Katt Williams, that possibility alone can make executives uneasy. In recent months, fans noticed something unusual about the project. The promotional timeline for Get Light became quiet. Updates slowed down. Public marketing seemed to pause. In Hollywood, delays are not unusual. Films can be postponed because of scheduling conflicts, reshoots, budget changes, or shifting priorities within a studio. But when silence surrounds a project that once generated excitement, speculation tends to grow. Around the same time, reports surfaced that Teyana's relationship with Aaron Pierre had quietly ended. The breakup was described publicly as the result of busy schedules and career pressure, which is a common explanation in the entertainment world. Still, the timing caught the attention of online communities already discussing Katt Williams' comments about industry power dynamics. Suddenly, several storylines seemed to overlap. Fans began connecting different pieces together, wondering whether something larger might be happening behind the scenes. Whether those theories are true or not remains uncertain. What is clear is that Teyana Taylor's career has followed a path very different from the typical Hollywood story. She started as a young artist discovered early, moved through music, choreography, and acting, and eventually stepped into directing. Along the way, she gained a level of industry experience that many performers never receive. That journey may be exactly why people continue to watch her so closely. Some see her simply as a talented artist exploring new creative directions. Others believe her story represents something deeper about how power works inside Hollywood. Either way, her career has become part of a much larger conversation about creativity, independence, and what happens when someone inside the system decides to take control of their own narrative.